as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Welcome back to the Research Talks with Alan Green here on Stockbox. Good to be talking to you again. Alan, how are you? How is your Friday going?
Likewise, Mark. Very good morning to you. And yes, it's great to be. We're at Friday again. Where has the week gone? Where did last week go? Come to that. But yes, it's a beautiful sunny morning on the south coast in Seaford, and genuine feeling of spring in the air, or is that a bit too early?
No, I think you can say that. I definitely felt that from actually last weekend over here. It was beautiful. It was so warm, and I was sat outside just enjoying my lunch and just soaking up the sun. Today, and even though it's got a little bit chilly, it's again clear blue skies. And yeah, I'm going to say the spring's here. I'm going to call it. There we go.
There we go. And of course, for us in the UK, we're about a month away from being able to go out and sit outside in the pub again and
nice.
Enjoy it outside. I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Not that I'm a drinker. I hasten to add, it's just there is something very special, as I'm sure you'd agree, Mark, being in the UK and being able to visit one of our glorious country pubs in the spring sunshine.
Exactly. Yeah. Nothing better than that. And that's very unique to the UK as well. You don't really get that experience anywhere else, I don't think.
Very true. Yeah.
So today we're doing a Hemlo special. So that is a region in Canada where, of course, Panther Metals have a big project over there, and recently Power Metal Resources also took licenses very close to that area, and it seems like it's an up and coming area, a good place to be exploring. So yeah, I think today's focus is going to be on those two companies specifically in that region. Is that right?
That's great, Mark. Yes, it's quite some area, Canada. When you consider Canada is the world's second largest country after Russia, 3.8 million square miles. The UK fits into Canada over 40 times. It's just a huge, vast territory, and obviously towards the east and towards the west, the population it's more heavily populated with the cities, of course. But out in the middle of Canada, it's just this vast wilderness. It's teeming with wildlife, and there's so much history there, and it was fascinating for me to look into just this small area, which is based on the north shore of Lake Superior, in the Lake Superior region, in northern central Ontario, and it's an area that is just absolutely fertile, as you like, for not just gold but every single mineral commodity you can imagine. There's been a lot of history in the area. I should say the Lake Superior region itself has been long renowned as a playground for geologists due to its sheer tectonic diversity. And I know you had Charlie the Geo on recently discussing the geology in depth, and I'm not going to attempt to replicate that in any way. Suffice to say that the volcanic activity in the region, of course, when volcanic activity takes place, the magma blasts up into these crevices and puts the rocks and the matter there under tremendous pressure, forming these little pockets of minerals, and then you get shear zones where the plates move over each other, and further pressure is created, creating VMS, volcanogenic massive sulfide, and all range of environments and areas which are really ripe with commodities that in today's society are ever more relevant, of course, when we take into account the requirement for the new battery technology and the metals required to power those. So there's been extensive activity in Lake Superior over the last century, and that's mining for base metals, rare earth metals. unique industrial minerals, and of course the very famous colourful marbles at Ruby Lake. But a lot of evidence that ancient people south of Lake Superior were using, we were trading and mining copper up to 4,000 years ago. So a tremendous amount of history in the area. So of course, if we bring it up to date, if you actually take a look, if you go onto Google Earth and just zoom in on the map, obviously the territory is vast, we know that, but there are literally countless lakes, lots of small lakes. So the area, the Hemlo Schreiber belt area on the northern coast of Lake Superior, running between Terrace Bay and, of course, the town of Wawa in the which is on the eastern coast of the bay. The territory is. It's marshy in some areas, and of course you've got all these lakes interspersing with the area, and it's just created this this powder keg of incredible mineralization and opportunities. There are many well-known mines operating in the area. You've got the Hemlo gold mine, of course, which is world famous, operated by Barrick Gold. The Mishi open pit mine, owned and operated by Wesdome, Eagle River at Wesdome, and what's also interesting, I found interesting whilst doing the research on this, is that a lot of territories and licensed areas are owned by individuals and small unlisted companies. And there's an example of recently First Class Metals has acquired 4 gold exploration projects to about 30 kilometers northeast of the Barrick Hemlo mine. And of course, we're going to come on to that area when we talk about Panther Metals and Power Metals shortly. So you'd think that being out in this vastness, the lines of communication would be challenging. The road links would be challenging. Not a bit of it. The Canadian highway literally runs through Terrace Bay all along that coastway. There are good road and rail links and access to market once the ore's out of the ground, and it's easy to transport and get it and get it to market. So we have the backdrop there. We have, of course, just talking about the famous mines in the area. Also to the northwest of the Terrace Bay area, there's the Pure Gold Red Lake project. It's approximately 60 kilometers northwest of Terrace Bay. The Phase 1 gold mine is the number 4 gold mine in Canada, and it's number 16 in the world. And obviously not as famous as the Barrick Hemlo mine, but nonetheless, it's I've had a focus recently on Australia with the Victoria area, which is rife with gold miners. But this area probably has more potential simply because of the diversity of minerals in the ground. So other operators include Melchior Resources, Canadian Venture Exchange listed. They with the White Lake project, that's just to the south of the Hemlo mine. Metal Corporation, TSX listed, owns the Gouda and Egg deposits, also south of the Hemlo mine. This is about 20 to 30 kilometers. Generation Mining, which owns the Sally and Barnes deposits to the west of Hemlo and close to the coast. The Generation Mining have made a huge palladium discovery there, 8.67 million tons in the ground, and clearly it's done the share price no harm at all. TSX listed Palladium One, which owns the Tycho palladium mine, and that's about 20 kilometers northeast of the Hemlo mine, and also the territory that's called the Dotted Lake territory, which is owned, of course, by Panther Metals, and I'll come on to that in a second. there are Hemlo Explorers, which are south on the North Limb mine, which is undergoing a major drill program at the moment. Just going back to Palladium one, I should say that on the back of the sampling and work they've done at Tycho, the Tycho mine, they've just raised $50 million in an oversubscribed placing. Hemlo Explorers with the, as I say, North Limb also own the Valley Warren Raven discoveries. And if we move to the west, over towards what's called Winston Lake, which is northwest of Terrace Bay, we have the Winston Lake Zinc Project, and also Pick Lake as well. So these are just some of the operators in the area. I mean, I'd be here all day if I sort of went through every single one. So I'm not going to. But of course, we have two great British companies involved in the discovery process there. We come to Panther Metals first of all. Now, Panther Metals also have interest in Australia, and Power Metals, of course, we've discussed on many occasions. They have interest in resources in numerous different continents all over the world. So we're going to focus today just on the projects in the Schreiber Hemlo Greenstone Belt. So with Panther Metals, first of all, I'm moving to the west. So we're looking at the Big Bear project, and this is a project and a series of geophysical anomalies that were identified. The project is owned 100% by Panther Metals and takes in Schreiber and runs close to Terrace Bay, and Panther Metals have identified 39 designated targets for priority investigation among a further 253 geophysical anomalies. And these are, of course, Big Duck Creek, Cook Lake East, Big Duck West, and then Lizard Lake north and south. Again, sampling has been undertaken here, and a drill program will be put into place during 2021. I started the updated presentation that Darren Hazelwood and his team had put together, which was highly comprehensive. Nearby we had the Little Bear prospect, which has been historically mined, and some incredible numbers were pulled from the ground there. There was a gold sample pulled from the ground, some 1,300 grams per ton, and that was back in the 1930s. So it just gives you an idea of the potential in that area. I mentioned Pure Gold, of course, the Red Lake project. West, 300 grams per ton was a recent find there, but of course that's now a producing mine, and the Panther Metals, of course, will be developing Big Bear project as we go forward. We now move to the east. Mm-hmm. We move just to the north of the Hemlo mine with the Dotted Lake project, which is a more recent acquisition, 18 kilometers north of Hemlo and 16 kilometers from the gold mine itself. So it's identified the property entails 39 cells northeast of the Hemlo mine. Sampling there has revealed 23 grams per ton over a 0.3 meter sample area. Sampling back in November confirmed the historic data from the territory, and Panther Metals have a drill campaign planned for the first half of 2021. I mentioned earlier Palladium 1 and the Tycho mine. That's sited to approximately 25 kilometers to the east of the Dotted Lake project. And again, Palladium 1 with their exploration have identified these nickel ore bodies very close to the surface. So given that the territory and the geological anomalies are very similar across the Dotted Lake territory, obviously we're very excited for the potential and what Panther will find when it commences the drilling campaign there. Mm-hmm. So that really encapsulates the Panther's activity in the area. Mm-hmm. moving to power metal, and of course there's a close working association between Darren Hazelwood and Paul Johnson, who owns Power Metal. Power Metal, of course, already active in Canada with the Eureka silver mine, the Silver Peak project, but they've been undertaking studies into the Schreiber Hemlo greenstone belt, and have this week confirmed that they're exercising the option on 4 properties. So initially on the 21st of January, Power Metal announced that they had acquired the Hemlo North projects, which incorporates Dotted Lake East. So that's in the same region as Darren Hazelwood and the Panther Metals team are operating. It incorporates Dotted Lake East, Olga Lake, and Roger Lake. They sound like an old married couple, but anyway. So again, sited 29 kilometres northeast of the Barrick Hemlo mine, 120 odd single cell mining claims, historical surface sampling there at just under 19 grams per tonne. And again, the terms of the acquisition, as with all of the 4 projects, it's cash and shares, a net smelter arrangement on the with the vendor, which Power Metals can buy at any time for a single $500,000 payment. We then moved to the 18th of February. Power Metal said at that point it was looking at acquiring a potential 4 additional properties, namely the McKellar option. Now McKellar is sited halfway, I suppose, between Schreiber and Hemlo on the coast there. Lots of activities in the area previously, although it's relatively underexplored compared to the other regions. So it's acquired the McKellar option, and again identified there in previous work a volcanogenic massive sulfide feature, which is thought to contain copper, lead, zinc, and silver mineralization. So that's now completed. We then move back to the Schreiber area. And Power Metal have taken up the option to acquire the Cocoa East project. Now, this is at the east end of the Big Duck Lake. Remember, Big Duck is one of the priority targets identified by Panther Metals for drilling. So this is again, the geological anomalies identified at Cocoa East point to 22 base metal and gold occurrences, and also VMS, volcanogenic massive sulfide mineralization. So again, we know what Paul Johnson and his team will do. They'll be on the ground as soon as humanly possible, and they'll be working that, and we'll have a ton of data back from that in a very short space of time. So we then move south from Cocoa East to the very close to Terrace Bay, with the Little Bear mine that I mentioned, the Little Bear prospect that was identified, this huge gold anomaly in the 1930s. To the east of that is the Enable property. The Terrace Bay area is associated with at least 28 gold showings, and this entails 41 claims covering just under 9 square kilometers. So again, that's been confirmed on similar terms to the McKellar option. The final option, we move back to Hemlo again, and again very close to one of the Hemlo Explorers properties at Valley. Adjacent to that is the Magical property. This is to the northwest of the Barrick Hemlo mine, and adjacent, as I say, to Hemlo Explorers property. So no news in terms of exploration from any of these prospects yet, but Paul Johnson and the team have moved very quickly to make these acquisitions, get them in house, and obviously now with spring coming, they'll be undertaking intensive survey work, of course, aeromag surveys, sampling, and identifying drill targets. And I imagine that they could even go as far as to share some of the resources with Panther Metals, given that the territories that they now own overlap, and are in some cases overlapping and adjacent to each other. So Yeah.
Two very good companies there, in the same very good region. It certainly seems. It's Darren described Darren described power metals as a noisy neighbour in a good way. Yeah, because we know what Paul Johnson is like. We know he's always talking and working very hard and keeping investors updated with what's going on. And you just know if that's going to also happen in Hemlo. So I think Darren's reference was that it will do Panther good as well, because it will draw attention onto their project. So I think it's fantastic that we've got two very good companies there, with two very good CEOs in this region that seems like it's very rich in precious metals. So as you say, spring is coming. Spring is upon the Canadians as it is for us as well. So it'll be interesting times to see how they progress and sort of prove up the area. And of course, Charlie DiGio being on the podcast with me a few weeks ago, he's always gets very excited and talks about rocks. Whatever floats his boat, that's cool. but he was all very bullish about the area and what's going on there. So I think it's a good region to be exploring in, and it's great that those two very good companies are in there operating.
There is plenty of anecdotal information about the history of the area too, and I think if you're considering investing in Panther Metals or Power Metals or even some of the other companies operating in the area, it's worth taking a look at some of the geology and the history in the area, and really what has brought about the series of geological anomalies that runs across the area, and of course is in other areas of Canada too. But I think the Schreiber Hemlo Greenstone Belt is attractive because amid Canada's vastness, it is very accessible. You've got the Trans-Canadian Highway that runs right through the area, so road access is excellent. Access to processing facilities also excellent. Long-established producing mines in the area. And also just the sheer amount of history, the fact that, of course, the areas has been explored for years, and we've had the evidence, the historical evidence of so much sampling and so many numbers brought out in the past. But of course, today we have the advantage of modern mining techniques, data analysis, desktop analysis, 3D modeling. I mean, we've heard, of course, about Kavanga Resources and the way they 3D modeled the KSZ feature in Botswana. We've got all of the companies we've discussed, Power Metals and Panther Metals, will be modeling the data that they get back, so to help them identify the gold targets, but also to give them an idea of the size and the scope. And it would seem that across that entire region, there's every bit the same amount of potential that exists in the region that prompted Barrick to build the Hemlo mine, that prompted Pure Gold to drill the Red Lake mine, the phase one Red Lake mine, and of course the other operators in the area too to do the same. So it's an incredibly exciting, fertile area, and as I've looked into it, I think there is huge scope for Power Metal and Panther Resources to deliver some company changing and some life changing results and mineral finds in the area, in their license areas.
Great, yeah. Well, I agree with you there as well, Alan. Of course, Canada very famous for mining, and the Toronto Stock Exchange, or the TSXV, indeed. Lots of exploration mining companies there. I think they're appreciated a bit more in North America than perhaps they are in London. They tend to understand it a bit more. I'm not really sure whether it's a history, but it's a great jurisdiction to be operating in, for sure.
It is, and when you're considering making that investment, also look at the other companies operating in the area. And I've just listed a handful today, and I've gone through, but all of the licenses in the area, they're owned by private companies, some big listed companies, individual operators. So that the complete spectrum of exploration exists in this region, and it's certainly been an eye opener for me looking into this in more detail.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Alan, again, for talking to us there about the Hemlo region in Canada with reference to Power Metal Resources and Panther. And we'll speak again soon.
Thanks, Mark. Speak soon. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.